Hi, welcome to another episode of Josh and Kelly.
Today's going to be a little different for you. We're doing a bit of a Q&A. We've had so many people ask us questions about everything to do with the van, how we do things, why we do it. So we're going to do a bit of a Q&A and hopefully answer the majority of the questions that we get on a regular basis about our van and about us traveling.
So one of the biggest questions is number one and number two, how we go number one and number two. So I'm going to start this video off with a potty mouth here, talking about this stuff. So under here in the cabinet for the galley, I have a bottle, and I have what's called a Go Girl. And this is just a little apparatus that you hold up against yourself, and you can pee standing up. I typically kneel here in the van, but I do take it on my hikes. So if I am out in the bush and need to use it, I can just stand up and go, which is very nice. Emptying the water bottle is so inconspicuous. Like, I can walk it into any place that I'm going to use the restroom, take it in, empty it. Nobody really says anything like, oh, well, you're just carrying a water bottle. So that's really convenient. And then most of the time, just like when you're traveling, you find places to go to do number one and number two. But as a backup, we do have a little portable commode, and we have some composting material so we can put in here, mix it, dispose of it properly. But most of the time, it's part of our planning when we're parking. Is there a place nearby to plan for the morning? Like last week, we were in Allegheny State Forest, and it surprisingly had a bathroom. So, where we are, rest stops, different places, Walmarts, you just pull in when you need to use their bathroom. So we've only used this a couple times so far. But it's nice because it's just convenient, and we can do what we need to here in the van if needed. So question number two is, where do you park your van? And we've parked all over the place, but I'll let Josh explain it because he's the navigator and always finds a good parking spots for us.
Yeah. So I have a very specific technique that I use to find spots. It's quite simple. I look at a map, and from there I look at usually parks or like state forests or national forests, or out west can be BLM land, and find somewhere in there that I think is appropriate. And we rarely use apps like iOverlander. I find that those sites are overused, and sometimes they also get closed very quickly because they're overused or misused from people who are there too much. It's also one of the reasons why we don't post our places on iOverlander, because we don't want them to be overused. There's always that small percentage of people in any activity, but especially in van life, who misuse it. They're the kind that show up at Walmart, put out their awning, put out their chairs, set up their camp in a Walmart parking lot, and of course ruins it for the rest of us. You're there in Walmart, you're there to stay the night. You pull up late, you sleep, you get out. You don't necessarily be out of your vehicle at all, unless you're going into Walmart, right? But there's always just people who ruin it for everybody else. So we don't post where we stay on iOverlander for that reason. And I don't use them for similar reasons as well. On rare occasions we might, but most of the time we don't. We find them by other means and have been very successful doing that.
Another question is, where do you shower? And some people, when we were watching van videos the years leading up to it, didn't have a shower, and I really wanted to have the shower, and Josh installed a 50-gallon water tank. So you've seen in some of the videos, we have a nice outside shower, which we do like 90% of the time. I mean, I've been out there and as cold as like 50 degrees. He's been out and much colder with snow on the ground. But, we have a nice hot water heater. The water gets heated up really nicely. Mm-hmm. And then we have an indoor shower as well, which is, you can see it in the van build and in our van tour. So that's always a nice backup, but that's primarily for like bad weather conditions, or if it's really too cold to shower outside.
Yeah.
And we've occasionally utilized truck stops if it's been really hot, or we've been on a long stretch, just to, conserve the water. But we love having many shower options.
We do, and we do utilize the outdoor shower the most, and we love it. It's a very invigorating shower, and it is so refreshing. So where we can, that's what we use. It's just not always an option. If it's bucketing with rain, we sometimes don't do it. Although I have had some showers in the rain too. We've recorded a few of those too. It happens, but yeah, if it's cold or if it's uncomplimentary to be outside, then we have the indoor shower option. But yeah, we try and use it when we can.
When we were building out the van, we made a decision not to have windows. And one of the questions is about, do you ever feel afraid? And I certainly don't, because I have Josh and Sophie with me at all times. And I like the idea that we don't have windows, because it's one, insulation, a lot more heat and cool you lose from it, and just the privacy. Like when that door closes at night and you're inside there, it just feels like home. It feels cozy. You don't really think necessarily about the outside, whether you're on the side of the road or if you're like in a big open area with a great view. And we have taken certain measures with security, but yeah, I don't feel afraid at all. And I rest really well and sleep really well in the van.
Yeah. Yeah, so do I. I've never been afraid at all. In any of the places we've stayed, doesn't matter where it is, never been afraid, never been worried about anything. So yeah, it's not the security, the safety has never been an issue. Yeah.
What about the knock knock?
So everybody's always worried. Oh, have you ever had the knock? We've had it twice. Both times, no issue at all. It's nothing to dread. Like, finding another place is so easy. There's so many places to stay no matter where you are. We've done the vast majority of our van life on the East Coast, which is, I guess from most people's opinion, is much more difficult than out west. Because out west you have like BLM land and you can just go and camp, for weeks at a time out there if you want. And the East Coast is a lot more populated, so it's harder to find spots. We've never found that to be the case. We found it so easy. So to be moved on, and both times was in New Jersey, and both times was actually northern New Jersey, and the police were great. The one time was recently when we did the American Dream Mall. We stayed in the Giants parking lot right outside, and the police came and said, "Look, the security doesn't want you here overnight. They know you're not doing anything. You just parked here, but and that was fine." He was very polite about it, and we moved on. And 30 seconds later, we found a new spot. It was no big deal. And another time was in a state park. It didn't have any signs to say that it closed, that there was no overnight parking. But the police came in, and there was probably 7 or 8 cars in there at the time, and they just moved us on. Again, it was no big deal. It was nothing to dread. It was nothing to fear. Some people are acting like, they're going to go to jail and get fined $100,000 because they've parked in the wrong spot, and they're just so afraid of this knock. It's nothing. It's nothing. Life has some difficulties. That's not one of them. That's easy.
What do we eat while living in a van? Well, because we are traveling part-time, and when we do plan a longer stretch of time away, we do some prepping of foods pre-made, and then we have prepared meals. We do have an induction stove that we use. It's one pan, so we just do one thing at a time. Maybe long term when we're traveling full time, which is our goal, hopefully within the next year to be on the road full time. I might get a second one, but it works out pretty well now. And, we're not off grid for that extended amount of time yet. So there's always stores, to go and pick up things that you need. And then, as you know, we like finding our bakeries. And,
yeah. Gotta hit the bakery.
And one of the questions too is like, is it stressful? But for me, because I'm usually like a fast-paced, active person, I find like living in a smaller space slows me down. Like you have to move certain things to get to what you need. So you have to take your time because you're in a small space. And, Josh does the driving. So even that has been downtime for me where I can read or do other things. And I find it so extremely relaxing. It's almost like if you had a camper van or had a beach house or somewhere you're going to on the weekends, like you still have the chores associated with that, but there's just something about like being on the move, being able to change your background, your backyard changing and exploring. I mean, what a great opportunity to see the world. And I find it much more relaxing than anything else, work or at home or So it's just been a great thing for me and an opportunity to kind of slow the pace at which I do things down.
Yeah, I find it very relaxing. I don't find it stressful at all. I have seen a number of videos of van lifers who are complaining about how stressful it is. You know, they're talking about decision fatigue and all that. I'm like, it's called life. You got to make decisions in life no matter what you do. Van life is simple. This is easy. Like, there's no decision fatigue. You know, a fixed abode and all the issues and responsibilities that come with that is much more difficult than van life. Van life is simple. Van life is easy. It is not stressful at all. We love it.
And that's like another question. It was like, why choose van life? And, you know, Josh worked at a marina and he was living on a boat and we were going to do that route. And then when he first presented the idea, I was like, oh, I just don't know. Like, it just, living in a van, I just couldn't imagine being that confined. And then, you know, it took us a whole year to build it out and I still wasn't convinced. But once we got everything completed and like I just mentioned, like you get in there, it's so comfortable. Our bed's comfortable. It feels like home away from home. And it's nice with the dogs. You can pull over, you can let them out. Well, we have one now, Sophie out, and, you know, get to places easily. You know, with the boat, it was nice. I love being on the water, but there's certain stresses and expenses with that are just different than, so why we switched to the, you know, traveling in the van. And I think we can cover a lot more territory as well in a quicker amount of time and for less money.
A lot cheaper. Yeah, a lot cheaper for sure. Yeah.
So, I don't know. People ask about the worst part of the van life, but we haven't really experienced it, really. Like the pros and cons.
Van life is still life. You still have, like, if you have issues before you get into van life, they're not going to magically disappear. It's not some panacea. If you're an antisocial person who has issues beforehand, you're still going to be an antisocial person with issues. You're just going to be an antisocial person with issues in a van. Like, life still happens. Like, there's no difficult things in van life. There's just life, the same as there's life any other time. And so, yeah, if you approach it from that standpoint, there are no difficulties in van life. It's fun. It's relaxing. Is beautifully interesting. You meet new people and see new things all the time, and you can be as social or as antisocial as you like as well when you're there. We could hole up in there and not speak to anybody. Now, we're social people. We're quite happy. We talk to people all the time. But, you know, it's no different from the rest of life.
And it's just communication, like anything. Like if he's getting down and using the galley to do his hair and, you know, brush his teeth, and I'm out of the way. Like, you know, you learn to navigate around each other because you have to in a small space. And, you know, we just get a routine. He walks Sophie. I straighten up. I get the bed made. Like, we just have fun. And some of them we've spoken about and some of them we haven't. We just kind of just like at home, like we just do what each other. Yeah.
We kind of get our groove and get organized by, you know, I guess what is the normal tendencies of each of us to do. You know, even at home, I generally am the one who walks Sophie. It's not that Kelly can't; she often does, but I am generally the one who does do it. And so we're in van life, same thing. I get up, Sophie gets me up when she wants to go out and walk in the morning, you know, so I get up. Kelly can sleep in, or she gets up, she makes her coffee, she makes the bed, tidies the van before we get back, you know, those kind of things. We just coordinate. It's not difficult. It's just life.
And then there's also questions about like the heating and the cooling in the van, like how we manage that.
Yeah, so we get technical questions all the time about a variety of things, about power and the fact that we have an induction, you know, cooktop, and oh my goodness, does that draw all your power? And we have an 8-gallon hot water heater that's electric, because everything we have in the van is electric. And people are like, oh, does that really deplete your electric bank? No. To heat the whole, it takes about an hour and 15 minutes to heat the hot water from cold with that, and that may use 4% of our battery bank to do it. So it's nothing. Like, it's no big deal at all. The induction cooktop is even less. You know, most of the time we can't even tell in terms of our battery percentage-wise that we've had it on. You know, we'll look and we're batteries at 96%, and we cook dinner or something and look at it again, and our battery's still at 96%. Like it's almost negligible. Part of that is because we have a very robust and large battery bank, and that helps. But we designed it and built it for that in mind. But we do get a lot of technical questions. And one of the ones we do get all the time is, how do you stay warm in there? How do you cool down in there? And the simple answer is, we try and go places where the weather is nice, so we don't have to worry about it too much. But when it gets hot, we have fans. And the fans can push or pull air in, and we can change them up. And we have a winter configuration and we have a summer configuration, but both times air circulates. One will pull, one will push. And so we constantly have air circulating in there. And so in summertime, no matter how hot it is, it's no hotter in there than it is outside. And it's often cooler in there because it's in the shade. And in winter, we have a heater. We've got a very efficient, we have a Webasto dry air heater. It's extremely efficient. I know people who have vans very similar to ours with the exact same heater and things. They go in winter to places like Norway or Alaska trying to find the cold. They're in -40 and they're still comfortable in their van with that heater. Like, so we have no issue with that heater. We've never had an issue. The only issue we have with the heater is the fact that it gets too hot sometimes and I have to turn it off because I get too hot.
Yeah.
I'll wake up and I'll throw the covers off and I'm sleeping with no covers on and I'm just about in a sweat, because it's just so hot and we got to turn it off. We don't have an issue with being cold in there. We never have an issue with being cold in there. It's always
never.
in winter. We actually have to turn the fans on and cool it down. Yeah.
Which is great for me because I have a great tolerance for the heat and not so great tolerance for the cold. So the fact that we have such a strong heating system, and it just underneath the seat in the passenger side, it puts out great heat. It's awesome.
Hidden, it's out of the way. You don't know it's there. It's plumbed directly into our fuel tank because we don't have anything else on board. We have no propane on board. We're all electric, except of course for that heater. But that heater is plugged into the fuel tank of the van. It's in the auxiliary port. So we don't have any other spare fuel on board. We don't have to worry about carrying extra jerry cans of anything. We fill up our van with gas and we automatically have heat. Keeps it really simple. It's very efficient. It's a very good heater. So yeah, we're Four Seasons. We can go anywhere at any time. And yeah, we can't wait to test the extremes out, especially I really want to test some of the cold ones out. But
me, I like to chase 70. Yeah, that's my thing. Let's just chase 70 degrees. Or maybe
which we do most of the time. I think right now this is like 70 degrees. Like we're stationed all the time. But yeah, so we don't have an issue with heat or cooling. And this kind of gives me, I guess, segues into another thing. We get questions of, do you have any regrets, things where you would change or any of that with the van? And the answer is no. We haven't had it. We've had it for years now. We haven't had to change a thing. We put a lot of thought into the design of it. We built it extremely robustly. The electrical system is robust. Even physically, the van is quite robust. We've never had an issue. We've never had things break. We don't have to worry about fixing things or upgrading things. It's been great, and we've never had an issue. So we have no regrets with our build at all.
What do we do for money?
Money. It would be nice if it grew on trees, but it doesn't. So we work. I'm a dock master at a marina, and I do that just in the summer. So it's only for like maybe 6 months of the year. And I work weekends doing that so that I'm free during the week, because Kelly's a nurse and she works weekends. And so that allows us, because we both work weekends, to be out during the week traveling. And then when it's the off season, when I'm actually not working, Kelly only works 3 weekends a month. So she has 1 weekend a month off, and allows us to do a 10-day stretch and go to much further afield locations than we otherwise would be able to. So yeah, we work. It's life. And like anybody else, you got bills to pay. So yeah, we work. So
the goal is to hopefully be full-time travel within a year or so.
Yeah.
And, I'm looking for remote work, something that we can do along the way while we're traveling, so we can, visit different places. Just so excited to explore and see all the places in the United States. I really want to go out west.
Yeah.
And
the rest of the world, like we're not limiting ourselves. We've talked about this before. We can get to 5 different continents in this van just by having to ship it once. We're North America. We can do North and South America. We can ship it once to Europe, and from Europe, you have basically land bridges available or a short ferry ride to Africa and to Asia. Like you can get to the vast majority of the world on the road with this van, and that's how we designed it, to be able to do that and to have that as a potential. And we'd love to get to that point where we can do that.
And because of our job, we have medical insurance, but a lot of people do ask about the insurance on the van, if you have to do something special, or how that works with covering the contents of the van.
We have regular insurance in the van, and we actually have it through State Farm, which I think is the only company that will actually insure a self-built camper van like we've got. So we've had no issues with that. We've got insurance for that, no problem. And so we have regular car insurance just like anybody else does for the van. Now, if we were full-time, some people who don't have a fixed abode have some issues with that. I don't want to get into all the details of that, but there's lots of options for that. There are states that allow you to register your vehicle in those states with no fixed abode, Florida being one of them. And that allows you to get insurance just like everybody else and go from there and have your van registered legally and properly. But for us, it's not an issue at the moment. And if it is, then there are options available.
It's been great. I think one of the things that I feel most surprised about is just how comfortable it feels to be in the van and the freedom that it brings. I mean, we've had so few hiccups, and like being older and so many life experiences, whatever challenges we do face, we just figure it out. And it's been really nice. And I, just so excited to continue our travels, and appreciate you coming along. I remember, I mean, we've been for years watching these van videos and the Q&A question videos. They're not the most entertaining or interesting, but I've always thought people would, every time I watch them, I what about this? I wonder how they do that. So we wanted to do a Q&A. I'm sure there's more things we could cover. Can't think of anything else.
We get questions all the time. We just try to cover some of the, I guess, most common ones that we get. If you have a specific question that you really have a burning need to have an answer to, put it in the comments and we'll see if we can answer it for you. But we tried to get the main ones in and give you a better idea of what it is. And we have found Q&As helpful in the past when we've watched them from people. So hopefully this will be helpful for you. And thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. And as always, we'll see you out there.
Appreciate you being here. See you out there.
Well, hello, girl. Hi. Hi. What's up? You coming to see Daddy? What's up with you? Mm-hmm.
She's like, why are you sitting?
Yeah, you're a good girl.
It's time to go.
You want to be on camera too? Is that what it is? Is it? You want to get your nice panting on camera right into the microphone? All right, right into the microphone. There you go. That's a girl.
Any loving for mommy? Oh, thank you. Quick. I guess I should take my glasses off.
Yeah, you take your glasses off. You'll be fine.
And I have what's called a Go Girl.